This episode is brought to you by Cologuard. Do you know what's really scary? Not screening for colon cancer when you turn 45. The Cologuard test is non-invasive, requires no special prep or time off work, and ships right to your door. In just 3 simple steps, Cologuard takes the scare out of colon cancer screening. If you're 45 or older and at average risk, ask your healthcare provider about the Cologuard test. Cologuard is available by prescription only. Learn more or request a prescription today at Cologuard.com/screen.
This show is part of the Head Stuff Podcast Network.
The man, the myth, the saint.
This is the story of a man who dared to dream. A man who saw an island full of snakes and said, "What's one more?" A man who put the shamrock into the McDonald's milkshake.
He put the sham into shamrock.
Yes. We're talking about Patricis. Halidius. Yeah, this is so we're back. Season 14.
14. Lucky number 14.
Yep. Yeah, the second Friday the 13th. And here we are attempting fate.
By God, you're right.
You always look at your watch when I say dates. I don't know if your watch has a date function.
It does. Look, it's the Casio. So, we're not sponsored by Casio.
Take that back. It's an
unnamed 80s, 90s themed digital watch.
But
if Casio would like to sponsor it.
If Casio is still a company.
What do you... I'm wearing a Casio-esque watch.
Yeah, you're wearing... Yeah, but I don't know if Casio is still around. Just because the watch is there. Doesn't matter, right?
That's how long they last. I got this from the 80s. It's an original.
Takes a licking and keeps on ticking.
That's Timex.
We are going to talk about... it's St. Patrick's Day on Tuesday. This is going to be the first episode of the new season. Everyone...
Which is today. Tuesday is today, then.
Tuesday's today. Happy St. Patrick's Day.
Happy St. Patrick's Day.
We've got an Irish flag there so that no one can be annoyed with us.
Or St. Patty's Day for our American friends.
Yes, St. Patty's Day.
And that's grand.
That is grand. Honestly, I think that's done now, yeah.
Do you think they know now? They're not to call?
No, more at the other side of it. I don't want to see any more posts about people being the angry snorting emoji. That's not it's not St. Patty's Day. It's St. Patrick's Day. That's my culture. Unless you can quote to me 5 lines from Confessio or Epistola, I don't care. I don't, his name is Patricius. All right, it's annoying when Americans say the wrong thing, but you know what else is annoying?
When we say the
everything.
Wrong thing.
Yeah, the amount of things I'm going to butcher in this, whatever. Get off your high horse about St. Patty's Day. Who cares? It's a made-up holiday.
So what? They like hamburgers.
Yes.
Let them celebrate Christianity however they like.
They, as we'll find out, it's arguably they invented the day.
Yeah.
When we had it, we weren't doing much with it. When they had it, it became a lot more fun.
Yeah, for us it was a solemn day of penance.
Yeah.
And
it was a day of bread and water and misery.
Don't even see the sun because you don't deserve it.
Yeah. I have it written here somewhere, but 61?
Oh, when it started in America. I was going to say it dates back to the 17th century.
Oh, yes. But as a religious holiday here, it was a day of solemn penitence. I think in 1927, they made it a day of temperance. So no drinking. And you'd have water and you'd abstain from meat, abstain from alcohol, go to mass. The classics of Irish Catholic celebration.
How many of the Catholic days of worship are based around not having meat? Or enjoying yourself? Is that just a way to be like, we don't have a lot anyway?
Yeah.
So let's just say that we're actually, this is our own sacrifice to God.
I mean, that is basically all of Christianity. When something bad is happening, you're just like, well, good. This is my sacrifice.
Wait till I cash in my chips. Because I've had a tough life.
Yeah. Chips, that'll be a fine thing. I wish. No, I'm going without chips. And not because I'm broke, but because it's for penance, which is what St. Patrick himself writes a lot about in his stuff. But as far as I know, 27, we had run of the country ourselves, and we made St. Patrick's Day a day of temperance and abstinence. And then by this 50s and 60s, Irish people were starting to get more access to telephones. We had televisions, or at least you could peer in a window at one. We had the radio,
Telecom Éireann.
Probably
not by then, maybe.
All of these, we started to hear the stories of American cousins. Yes. All of the fickle Irish who jumped on a ship at the first sight of famine and misery and went over to America. And their stories are coming back. Tales of boys done good, women done even better. And they're talking about St. Patrick's Day being this festival of getting up in the morning, knocking back a couple of whiskeys, dying in a river green, going out and being drunk out of your mind by 11 o'clock, and we're sitting at home.
And it's been excused because it's part of your culture.
It's part of the culture. No one can say anything. And meanwhile, back home, we're opening the letters and such, and we're after coming back from mass, and you're sitting down to a plate of boiled cabbage and your second pint of water for the day, and we start to think, Jesus, maybe that's what St. Patrick wanted all along. Maybe that's the true meaning of St. Paddy's Day.
They say you can take really whatever you want from the Bible. The meaning is your own.
Yes, it's interpretation. Separate the art from the artist. I mean, I'm pretty sure what the whole shamrock thing and what he really meant was more pints early and often.
Less work.
Yes. And then 1961, I think we got rid of the absence law. And the place hasn't been the same since.
Well, because it was started in Boston in 37.
Okay.
Yeah, and then sure it was only I have 1737 wrote down, which definitely isn't that. It's
okay. Well, what if we jumped ahead of ourselves there. What if we go back to the actual story of St. Patrick?
Okay, yeah, we'll do him first.
Do it chronologically.
Yeah.
The year 0, a woman comes home and tells her partner that she's pregnant, and he's not the father. Jerusalem, 1 BC. No, whenever that started. But what we have about St. Patrick, there's only 2 texts that they are certain that he actually wrote. And by they, I mean the scholars.
Someone who believes him.
Someone who believes him. They've narrowed it down to 2 texts that they reckon that he actually wrote himself. There's Confessio.
Confessio is a great name for it as well.
Yes. He doesn't confess anything really. He alludes to something happening, but he doesn't really confess anything. And then the other one is Epistola, which is a letter that he writes to the soldiers of Korotikos.
Giving out that they've killed a load of people.
Yes. Given out. And I don't want to cast aspersions on the man. A lot of moaning. Lot of moaning.
A lot of cribbing.
He seems to be very annoyed that this fella and his soldiers have kidnapped and killed good Christians, and now all of the Catholics around St. Patrick are very annoyed at him because he couldn't stop them.
Yeah. How is he meant to stop them?
Well, I think in that he complains that in France or other places that the hierarchy, the church was set up in a way that they would send money and go get pay for the people to be released, the kidnapped people. They pay a ransom. Whereas here they were just like, just go and ask him. And that didn't work out. Yeah. He said they laughed at him. So it's a very long letter where he just writes and it doesn't really have any kind of a point. But those are the 2. And from that, we have everything that we actually know about the great man.
You say great man.
Yeah, I mean, he is a great guy.
The first that's not the first text about him, but the kind of one of the first main ones is like 200 years from all the Irish names. Murku? Yeah. That's like over 200 years after St. Patrick's passed away.
Yes. But that wouldn't, I mean, even what he's talking about, by the time he's around, the Bible's been out for 400 years or 300 years, depending on. That's the first thing we'll talk about. No one knows when
you said that we should believe St. Patrick because we all believe the Bible.
Yeah.
Of course, we all here are staunch Catholics.
The time difference between St. Patrick when he was writing and the Bible is about the same difference as now and Shakespeare for us. Yeah. And we believe that.
None of it. What are you talking?
I mean, we know.
Charlatan, he didn't even write his own stuff.
That's a good point.
That's what someone said one time, and then
we've all seen Hamlet. I mean, neither of us have seen Hamlet, but I assume in there they talk about the theory that he's multiple people, multiple gay people. How could one man write so many great works and make up so many words?
Or he could have just been very good.
He could have been,
and in a time when he knew that there's not a whole lot else going on, I don't have a lot of competition. If I just get most of the storylines out of the way now, I'll be the first person to have ever done them.
But roughly that's the same kind of time gap maybe. But you've got Christianity. How much do you know about the Roman Empire?
It's big.
Yeah.
Roman.
Yeah.
Gaul.
They had a lot of Gaul. Yeah. Or go listen to a Roman history podcast if you want. But for the time of the start of this story, they would have taken over the areas of England and Wales somewhere in the 1st century. So between 43 and 84 AD, they're starting to take over the areas that would make up England and Wales these days. Christianity is starting to take off across the empire as well.
Yeah, it's hot.
It is hot. You know what else is hot? The Great Fire of Rome. Nice setup. I don't know. I thought this was an interesting point that that happens in 64 AD, and Emperor Nero blames Christians on the fire, who have always been a good scapegoat.
Yeah.
You know, and then by 313 AD, Constantine the Great he converts to Christianity. I don't think he makes the empire a Christian empire, but he's like, well, you know what? Let's stop persecuting them.
Mm-hmm.
So somewhere between 64 and 300, it becomes a mainstream thing.
Treat them like people. Maybe treat them like how you would like to be treated yourself.
It's a pretty crazy idea. But so I think I'd read in a few places that about 10% of the empire is Christian by that point. Mm-hmm. But I mean, who knows? This is also around the period where the empire is splitting into east and west. You've got the new capital in the east as Nova Roma, or renamed then to Constantinopolis, which is the city of Constantine. There you go. And then that becomes Constantinople. Mm-hmm. And then later, Istanbul for some reason.
Yes.
But, so this is a whole big shift. He's going over there. Place is becoming Christian over the next 100 years or so. So this is like and I know there's about 17,000 different timelines as to when the Roman Empire falls, but let's just say around about now. So it moves to the east. The Western Roman Empire starts to crumble at this stage, which means that the far reaches of it in the areas we'll be talking about are starting to... Troops are getting pulled away from there. There's less importance in that sort of an area. And this is where Patrick is born. Around about this time, maybe. Mm-hmm. So we'll say the Byzantine Empire, it's up and running, but it's all the other side of the world. By 395... that seems to be a general idea that the Western Roman Empire is crumbling. And we've got Patrick born somewhere around...
Give or take 50 years.
Give or take 50 years, because they might have... We'll talk about that in a bit, but they might have just made up... They did make up his birthday to try and spite some other guy. But around about... Somewhere in between 400 and 500, they reckon he's born.
It's probably 4 to 430. Something in there.
Somewhere
450.
Yeah.
Ish.
But he's born into a... I always thought he was Welsh.
And he probably is.
Maybe
they don't have a lot going on for them. No offense, Welsh listeners, but Scotland and they're really the third rung of the Celtic Brotherhood.
Yeah,
that it's like us and the Scots, and then the Welsh are like, oh yeah, the Queen holidays here sometimes.
Yes,
there's a prince.
There was a Prince of Wales.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Sure.
Prince, yeah. The St. Patrick's originally from there. Origin.
Yeah.
Wales.
Maybe.
Yeah, because otherwise you're giving it to what? Liverpool, Carlisle.
Well, with Goach, there's a load of different... Basically, what we know from where he is born comes from Confessio, where he says that he's from a Roman-British family. His dad is Calpurnius, who was a deacon and a decurion. So he was a priest and also some kind of Roman officer.
Yes.
So
tax collector. Well, money collector, tax collector.
Maybe.
Also, isn't it weird that the church would have been so tightly wound with money already?
What do you mean?
He can be a priest and a tax collector.
Well, so this is and again, the fall of the power of the empire. Lads are having the double job. They're having the double up.
That's fair.
He's a priest and he has to collect the money because everyone else is gone. Mm-hmm. So his grandfather, Boetius, was a priest. So he comes from a line of obviously married priests, I guess, if they have kids. But this is where we get the name of his origin, Banavum Tabernia. And this is where, again, I'm doubling down on, you know what? Say Paddy if you want. If I can butcher Banavum Taberina, then do what you like.
You can see why they went with Patrick or Paddy, because it's a lot easier, because all the other ones are... Do you have his other names there as well?
Well, he refers to himself as Patricius in it, because it's written in Latin. But what the other names that... Where did the other names come from? It's just guesses.
There's people that talked about guys around the time when he was in certain locations.
Yeah.
Maganus. There's Sucestus or Soshe.
Yeah.
But I think it's that you have different time periods for when he was in Wales, when he was captive, and then when he was Patrick. So he finishes off. The last evolution
is Patrick.
Yeah. Charmander.
Yes.
What's the big
You
one?
got it right the first time. But yeah, I've read that, that there's just that Patrick was the name that he chose for himself at the end.
Yeah, like all saints are, like it's not your actual name. It just adds to the lore anyway, where you're like, Was there 2 Patricks? Maybe there was 4.
Maybe there was 10.
10 guys, like in different parts of other different lads' lives.
Yes, there's an awful lot built around a man that, again, there are 2 texts from. But from these texts, we get, the story that everyone's kind of familiar with, I guess. Or the story that you kind of thought as a child that he's kidnapped by pirates.
Yes.
So that's where they reckon...
Irish pirates. But they reckon the Banavum Tabernia, wherever the fuck that is near the sea, based solely on the fact that he's kidnapped. Yeah, and pirates don't have sea legs.
No, they don't want to go in land.
Oh, sorry, land legs. Yeah.
But also they reckon...
They're known for sea legs. I'm such an idiot.
Yes. I don't know. We are swimming way over depth here in terms of like Roman culture at the time, but he says that he lives in a Ulala.
I think it's called an Ulala.
Maybe this is where Ulala comes from, because they say it's quite a fancy house. He lives in a Ulala. So, as we all know, is a fancy house. But from that, his dad's, he's got 2 jobs in the Roman Empire, or the fallen Roman Empire. So they reckon he's probably well off enough, middle class, maybe upper middle class, but also hanging around by the sea and manages to get himself kidnapped. That sounds like victim blaming there. That's bad for him.
It does. What was he wearing?
Now, to be fair, his whole letter is just him being like, and I'm glad I was kidnapped because it taught me the errors of my ways.
Oh, he was scared straight.
He was scared straight. He was scared. So he says he's kidnapped at 16.
Yeah, by the Rialto Raiders.
Yes. So, yeah, because there was another empire between, Western Scotland and the Antrim coasts. So between those 2 places.
And that part of the sea. They owned that sea.
And that
too.
part of the sea. That was their part of the sea. But that was their... I meant to check out the timeline of this, actually, but remember that story we did about the coronation stone?
Yes.
The magic rock. Yeah, because that's how that ends up in Scotland, supposedly, is because of that empire.
True that.
Yeah, and a fella lost it. But anyway.
But also, that's why Patrick ends up in the Slemish Mountains.
Well, right.
Otherwise, people say he went to Wicklow.
Yeah.
No, but later in we'll get to that chronologically.
No, but even we can say now, because you say he ends up in Slemish Mountain, there's also, if you stop the person on the street, which we could have done if we had the wherewithal to do a vox pop, but it's been raining, right? But if we had done a vox pop and we had to ask people what do they associate with St. Patrick, they would have said shamrocks, Shepherd's Crook, probably, maybe Crowpatrick, maybe Slemish Mountains.
Pints.
Well, not after they brought out that statue of St. Patrick into Temple Bar with a pint, and then they had to take away the pint. Did you see that?
No.
Okay, that's a developing story, but
was that this year? Just now?
It was like a month ago, yeah.
Oh.
Then they put a bag over the pint, and then they took the whole thing away within the space of like 24 hours.
We're no crack.
Well, there's nothing to say that St. Patrick wouldn't have enjoyed a delicious pint of
whatever beer was sponsored by.
Yeah, maybe that was it. Maybe it was like he's not a Guinness drinker; he's a Beamish drinker. But and the other big thing would be snakes and getting rid of the snakes.
Yeah.
None of any of that is mentioned in any of the bits that we have about him.
No, but there's
sheep are, to be fair.
There's 2 people a good couple of hundreds and hundreds of years later that told the story of. It's probably when you hear a story everyone knows is not true, but because they were rich and British, they put it into their memoirs of travel, and then because other people who were rich read that and were like, what an interesting saint.
What a fascinating man.
But it wasn't even a told story of St. Patrick at the time. It was a thing added on after.
Yeah. But when you say, like, we don't know where he ended up. All we know is that it's 200 miles away from a port, according to him.
Yes.
Yeah. But they reckon...
He thinks he walked back... Well, it's because the Wicklow port is linked to him.
Yes.
That it's the first time he came over, could have been there. The first time he escaped, could have been there. The time he comes back the second time, and Wicklow tell him to... And he goes up to Skerries. So they really try to shoehorn Wicklow in as much as possible, because they have a feeling something happened down there.
Something might have happened.
But also, there could be 2 Patricks.
Well, that's...
And then the one Patrick, the Patrick...
You're getting way into conspiracy theories.
The main
now.
Patrick?
Yeah.
Right?
Our Patrick.
He's still alive. He's living in Tel Aviv. He got a sweetheart deal.
Yeah. Well, I always heard that he was like a shepherd in the Antrim Mountains. Because I guess that's closer to the Dulrita kingdom.
But they do say the north and Connacht he'd be in a lot more. And then the other Patrick, or Palladius, that he was probably maybe a bit further south. And there's not a huge overlap in them as well, which is why St. Patrick's probably 120 years, or was he two men that both lived to be about, say, 70?
Maybe. I mean, that is the fun, because he, according to the legend, why we celebrate St. Patrick's Day on March 17th is because he died that day at the age of 120. And the reason why he's 120 is probably because they just wanted to have this Patrick be there before the other one.
Yeah, you don't want to dilute the story.
No.
Keep it all as one guy.
It's too difficult.
He becomes more powerful then.
Yes. But from what we know from his story, I keep going back to like what we actually know. The facts of just what he wrote himself. But,
two very short
yeah. Well, he says he's kidnapped at 16 and taken to Ireland, right? And from that, we figure he lives by the sea. But he says that he was brought and forced to tend sheep for about 6 years.
Yeah.
He gets big into prayer.
Mayo, probably.
Again, no, probably not. But he just, it could be anywhere.
Yeah.
But probably not Mayo. Because why would he ever leave? But he gets big into prayer. And he says that a voice comes to him in the night and tells him how to escape, which is to walk 200 miles to port. So he runs off in the night and gets eventually to port.
Now, see, that's where coming at you with hot off the presses.
Okay.
I saw a thing where it said that he waited until the next morning.
Yeah.
When they'd least expect you to run away.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then no one was looking for him.
No. And then he says he gets to the port, which might be in Wicklow. Could be anywhere.
The captain doesn't want to let him on the ship.
The captain says, get the hell out of here. And he says,
I can make it worth your while. I don't have any money to pay with this, sir.
Yes.
For this ride, but maybe there's something else I could do.
Well, this I didn't really get. Did you read this bit where he's like, he says he turned away and he already started praying. And then before he'd even left, someone came running after him and was like, they want you on this ship. And then he says he refused to suck their breast, which... I always heard like sucking a nipple was a sign of not assertiveness, but it was like fealty. It was like a handshake, maybe.
Okay, it's not like a prison hold my pocket situation.
I mean it doesn't because
it feels
not
more,
sound like
it
that.
feels more like that.
Yes, but there's that you see that in like
anytime when you look back in history, they're like, what this meant was.
Yes. Well,
it's usually sexual. It's exactly what it sounds like, and it's probably sexual.
Well, because dogs do it, pigs do it, children do it. Suckle at the breast of the person who's providing for them. It's a sign of fealty, a matter of respect, and frankly, I think it should be brought back into the country. But in his own writings, he says he doesn't do it. And then they bring him on the ship anyway.
And they respect him even more for that.
So he turns them down. And he says that they're all pagans, so he doesn't want to suck at their breasts. And he says, they're like, pay us whatever way you can. And he says, what about eternal life? And they say, okay.
Whoa.
Yeah, pretty big swing.
Deal.
So they bring him on the ship. And he says 3 days later, they make it back to Britain. And then...
28 days.
Yeah, this again, I don't really get. Because they get off the ship. And they get lost. So they're walking through the wilderness. Yes. And then when they they're hungry, they're starving.
And Patrick constantly keeps going, don't worry.
Yeah.
Jesus will save us. The Lord will look after us.
Yes.
He'll tend to us like I do my sheep. Where are these sheep? I left them behind to run away with you.
Well, at some point, what do they say? They
come across a wild, a stampede of wild boar.
They're all hungry, and then they're like, what now, holy boy? And then he prays, and then they find, some pigs. And then they're like, God is good.
Why didn't you do that 28 days ago?
Well, yeah. Well, no, that was way after.
He's been
some days.
No, there was I think it's 28 days, and then they find the.
I think he's just after 28 days.
England's not that big.
No, it's not, and I don't know where they landed that they got this lost.
Yeah, you couldn't find someone.
Yeah, but he says after 28 days they find salvation, and then he says years later he makes his way back to his parents.
They're just trying to turn him into Moses,
Maybe.
I guess.
Maybe, I don't know. But then he says he finds his way back home. And then a long while after that,
because I read that he was kind of going off doing adventures before getting properly holy. He was training woods with Yoda style.
Yes.
And then but he'd always come home just to check it in the map or wherever. Then he goes to France to study properly, to really lock in 2026 Year of the Dragon, because then he's over there he goes to Oxur.
Yes.
He goes to, is it Amiens? He goes to a lot of French Division 2 teams. He never makes it to Ligue 1. Never shall he play at the Parc de France.
But he keeps the head down, goes into the B leagues, and comes back a better player for it.
Gets veterinated by the Bishop of Turin.
But he comes back then. Well, he's a learned man. He doesn't mention his mother at any point in any of these stories, but he says eventually, even though his parents didn't want him to leave again, he has another vision after many years where he says that
victorious.
Yeah.
This guy's he's a great man for having a vision right before he wants to do something.
Well, I don't know. I'd say that he doesn't want to. From reading his letters, he doesn't really want to be in Ireland at all. So he says he has a vision where, I saw in a vision in the night a man whose name was Victoricus, coming as it were from Ireland, with so many letters they could not be counted. He gave me one of these, and I read the beginning of the letter, the voice of the Irish people. While I was reading, I thought I heard at that moment the voice of those who were beside the wood of Vaucoult, near the western sea. They called out, as it were, with one voice, "We beg you, holy boy, to come and walk again among us." And that was it. He's back in.
One more time.
Yeah, but the Vaucoult by the western sea, maybe this is the time when he goes to Mayo. Who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah, but he says he goes back again.
He says he hears the specifically the people of that town.
Yeah.
Yeah, yelling at the woods.
But when he gets back there,
so why not go to there? He goes to Wicklow.
There's so many places trying to claim him, but he doesn't. So Confessio, the only thing close to confession is that he talks about. It seems to be something that he did when he was 15, so before he even left the first time, or before he was kidnapped the first time, that he told a friend of his, and that friend seems to have told the higher up bishops, and now it's hard to know. I think he was on trial for it. I don't know, does he write confessio while he's on trial or just afterwards? But he never really says what it is that he did.
Or is it his defense?
A lot of it is kind of like, how could my friend betray me?
Yeah.
And I didn't even do it.
But is that
and even when I did do it, I was just a boy. And also, I was bloody kidnapped and forced to do sheep stuff for 6 years. I paid my penance.
It was before I knew better. I'm a priest now. Forget everything I've done.
I had to live with the goddamn... I will say... Well, he's not a fan of the Irish.
He says that there's a lot of bits of him saying that I never turned a rich woman.
Yeah.
Or I never took money from a king.
Yeah.
And if I ever hung out with a chief's son, giving me a bribe, I was fucking paying them.
Yeah. There's a lot of... Yeah, people seem to think that it's something to do with money, based on how much he talks about avarice and greed a lot. He's very... in his second follow-up banger of a letter. Actually, I think that one comes first, the letter to... Oh,
I thought that was the second. I thought it was
they reckon that one's first.
His tricky...
The letter to Coroticus, where he's just complaining the whole time. I think a lot of it is like, how could anyone break bread but a man who's stolen goods? And he seems to be really against greed, stealing, and stuff like that. So it does maybe read like that's what he got done for. When he was 15, what the hell would he have stolen?
The heart
maybe
of a nation.
I never did anything. Never did anything wrong. And even if I did, it was a long time ago.
Yeah.
And you will have to say, I've had a pretty rough time of it. And I've never complained, apart from every second line in these 2 letters that I've written. But there's something in there. It's not really clear what he does, but it's weird to write a letter called Confession and then not actually confess to anything. Or he just sort of alludes to having done a crime. But he beat the charges, is the end result.
Yeah, that's PR 101.
Yeah.
An official apology, never say sorry.
Yeah. He sat down
just
to
explain
camera.
the reasons why you were right to do it. If you did it. Which you didn't.
Yeah.
And if you did, it's because you were very young at the time and didn't know any better.
No, he seems to think that the real crime is the betrayal of his friend to the higher-ups, which is probably fair.
This show is part of Headstuff Podcasts. Here's another show you might like.
Oh, hey there, folks. My name is Gavin McGahern.
And I'm Justine Stafford.
We got a little show called The Lovely Show, and that's a lovely little type of show.
And we are back, baby. Every Friday there'll be new episodes of The Lovely Show out, so you can tune in and get it in your ear sockets.
I mean, it's light-hearted banter, basically. Let's say you're away from home. You're an immigrant in a different country and you miss Ireland. I think this would be an ideal show to just listen to our lovely Midlands dulcet tones.
Oh, beautiful. And you're back. Close your eyes. Close your eyes
and
you're
you're back.
home.
You're back in the Midlands.
Home soil.
Listening to a radio station where they should have really gotten rid of that DJ a long time ago.
And they're still doing a raffle every day for a lawnmower. New episode every Friday.
But
But see, that's the more placid version of St. Patrick. Because then, did you read about the accounts of him being a martial type figure?
No.
He's like a anti-hero. Where
Right.
he's going around, he's like fighting druids, converting people against their will, but bad people.
I guess we've touched upon this over
He battles like witches and wizards.
Yeah.
And isn't that cool? And he goes around and he takes Christianity.
Yes.
All these other religions, they're waiting for someone to hand it to him.
Yeah.
He's like the Irish in Boston.
But I think we've mentioned that in a few other episodes over the years, that like the end of a lot of mythology, it's rewritten that St. Patrick comes in at the end. So like a lot of the children learn and stuff, there's many versions of the stories, but there's always a version where St. Patrick's there and he's like, and they turned into swans and they were cursed for hundreds of years until the word of Christ fell upon their ears, and then there was no more magic and we're done with that now.
Yes.
It's kind of the end of, he comes in, he says that's enough of that. And then that's the old Celtic magic, picking up stones and lost islands of Hy-Brasil and swans and witches and druids, that's all gone.
Yeah.
And people
the pagan
say,
testament of the Bible.
yes, people say when they said that he chased the snakes out of Ireland, what they meant was that he chased the pagan druids out of Ireland. But what they really meant was that is made up and he didn't do anything.
Well, you know,
He doesn't mention snakes in either of his moany letters.
There's one. Have you heard the story? It's not it's not on the internet.
You
won't
wouldn't find it
there.
in. Yeah.
But the one of them when he goes up to the mountain for 28 days,
Right.
kind of like Moses and Mount Sinai, or Jesus out in 40 days and 40 nights, or whatever. It's like your big long giant fast.
Yeah.
That there's he gets attacked by a giant group of black crows or black birds.
Yeah.
And then the second one, because that's tested, you've just been hurt. Physical pain, can you deal with that? That's pretty bad.
Yeah.
Second one, there's a sexy female snake.
Oh,
She comes up, Cora.
no.
Oh, she's trying to tempt Patrick.
Successfully, I'd imagine. Yeah.
And he knew she was a snake, even though she didn't look like one. Even
Okay.
though she wasn't scaled at all, she was in the form of an attractive woman. He banished her.
A metaphorical snake.
Yeah.
Yes.
He banished her to the Lake of Cora, which is probably just a woman came up and tried to talk to him, and he was like,
Get out.
"Be gone, snake woman."
Yeah.
But that's he got rid of that snake.
Yes. But none of that is based on anything other than someone.
Someone said it. Someone said he said it too. It's as good as word as you're gonna get.
That is true. I mean, that's as good as anything, really. But
do you think because
Well,
with how long his life goes? Because
Yes.
it's 120 years all the way up to like 400.
by that logic,
Because he meets Ushin,
yeah. But the people
which is
that
grand because technically
Yes.
he's going to live forever because he's from.
yeah, maybe the people that meet him also live as long.
They're
as,
magical people. They're,
Yeah.
if it's the children of Lear, they're
Yeah.
magical.
Yes.
And if it's Ushin and Fionn McCool's nephew, whatever, you're like,
Sure.
okay, these are magical beings that last from. And then after that, no one lives beyond the
No,
age of
'cause
90.
they're all
because they're people again.
Yeah, but they understand that they don't need to be magical beings that live forever because they've found the one true answer, the word of Christ. And then
yes.
they're like, that's actually, we don't need to be swans anymore.
Yeah, I should just
That's
die,
done.
go to heaven.
Yes, I'm done with this.
Why
I don't
didn't
wanna
anyone
be-
tell me about heaven?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, Patrick. Thank you, Patricius. And then they passed on the good word and died gracefully, right? But because they were, where did you find out where the other big story we would have been told as kids was the where the shamrock comes from? The shamrock
Yes,
story?
the Holy Trinity.
The Holy Trinity. That Patrick came back to the shores after his years of learning, and the creatures he found here looked up at him with the slack jaws and glazed eyes. They didn't understand what he was saying when he was trying to teach them the word of the Lord. And they kept trying to bite him. And he panicked and he picked up a leaf off the ground, a shamrock, and he showed that to the people of Ireland. And he explained to them then the concept of the Holy Father, the Holy Son, and the Ghost, three entities in one being.
Which is a very difficult concept to explain to someone who doesn't speak the same language as you. How did he sign that?
Well, I think he does. Yeah, I think he
Or is
complains about not being able to speak the language that's been spoken here a lot.
But
that's such a
he was held captive for 6 years, so he'd probably pick up
Yes.
something.
He does.
He'd
Yeah,
pick up something.
I think he in his letters again. He loves whinging in his letters, but he does say that he has a pretty hard time of it because he can't speak the language, and that it would be easier if he was somewhere else. I think he really wants to get put into a different diocese.
Well, then he shouldn't have had that premonition.
Yeah.
That's your own vision, Patrick.
But why are we depicted as stupid bogmen that can't understand metaphors or the basic tenets of Christianity unless we're showing a fucking leaf or a stick? Or like, Bridget's the same thing. We could, again, it's out of, like, the cross is made out of reeds, and that's the only way that we can understand the idea of Christianity.
It was before we had the Industrial Revolution.
When they're like,
we were bogmen.
This story is like, because it's the same, the French and the British, like all across the Roman Empire where Christianity is being brought, it's like normal. They just tell stories. Like a man will stand up on a hill and talk, and people were like, oh, my eyes have been opened. And then with us, it's
we
like,
jiggle keys in front of a fire.
Here's a lump of mud. It represents eternal life, and then we try and eat that as well.
I like mud. Good.
Yeah,
Mud's
I like
good.
mud good. Mud
yeah.
man say, mud live. Yes. Fuck, why can't we have normal stories? Why can't he just like... Because he seems like he's fairly...
You get to your 30s as an Irish person and talk about the land. And the bog.
That is true.
And the turf.
Those are the
and
only
the
things.
soil. And the soul. And the toil. And the toll roads. It's all fucked.
Those are the only things that mean anything to me. You're right. But what else have we got? I mean, there's very little else that based on... He really hits the Pictish.
Yeah, the story of Dara. Dara, what about he has a plot of land beside him, and then I think Dara's gonna go kill him. He sends boys to go kill him. But at the same time, Dara falls very sick, and then Patrick comes down, and even though he has the hit out on him, he fixes him.
Yeah.
And then he goes, you're not so bad. Go back to where you were initially going to build your church. And he builds the biggest church in Ireland on top of a hill. And that's in Kildare or Meath. And you're like, okay, he did a good thing for someone, even when that person was trying to kill him.
Yes. Which, I mean, that's a made up story again. But I guess it's the same thing with the Pictish. He really wants to help them, even though he clearly hates them. Well, no, it's like the Good Samaritan, which I think Mitchell and Webb already did as a very good sketch, but they have like, it's funny that there's a parable about a Good Samaritan with the implication being that like everyone's racist towards Samaritans, and the idea that there was a good one is worthy of something that we use as a metaphor 2,000 years later. But he really is like...
Not all Samaritans.
Yes, he hates the Pictish, or he certainly is very... put out by them because of their treatment of slaves. So maybe it seems likely that he was kidnapped by Pictish people. But I mean, so the Scoti and the Pictish. So there's another letter that he writes.
Scottish people, by the way, they're the
basically,
Highland Scots.
The Highland Scots, yeah.
Because then because that sounds like pygmy.
Yeah.
Did you see the reports about 10 years ago of people saying that St. Patrick, the Twa pygmy tribe, had been banished from Ireland thanks to St. Patrick?
Yeah.
And you're like, that's probably some form of racist disinformation.
Well, I think I read that like the Pictish were like a shorter, red-headed folk, and that was where the leprechaun idea came from.
Yeah.
Yes, that's also probably not true at all. But I was going to say here's some quotes from the man himself, but these are all obviously translated from Latin into English. But from Letters to the Soldiers of Coroticus. I don't know why I'd never heard the name Coroticus.
Coroticus, yeah.
Or like that seems to be...
Because you expected to say letter to the Corinthians.
Yeah, but a classic...
But there's other parts of the Bible.
A classic letter format that we're familiar with from the Bible, but it seems to be one of the only people that he mentions by name and a lot. And I guess no one knows who he is, but it seems weird that it's not involved in the
It's
myth
another
at all.
Patrick.
Yeah, maybe. But he says that in that he says, I live as an alien among non-Roman peoples, an exile on account of the love of God. I live for my God to teach these peoples, even if I am despised by some. So a lot of this story is that his parishioners or the people around him are very annoyed because this Coroticus guy has come and killed and kidnapped the Christians after Patrick said that wouldn't happen.
And after he's saying that you're not, as a Christian,
yes,
the last thing they want to be is kidnapped.
The bloody last thing.
Yeah.
And
they've enough going on.
Yeah. There's...
What was all that praying for?
Well, that is the big question.
I told them if they pray,
you wouldn't do this.
You wouldn't do this.
You're making me look like a right fool. But these are just some selects of... He goes on a lot about how much he loves praying, but he talks about the soldiers of Criticus are allies of the apostate Scots and Picts. They're godless men, fearless men, and they will face the eternal pains of Genia, which... I thought that was funny. I had to look up what that was.
And fellow citizens of the devil. Was you
Yes.
get yeah? And if you put those, if you do little ellipses and don't write it all the same together,
Yes.
it looks like associates of the Scots, fellow citizens of the devil.
Yeah.
Which in the lead up to the rugby, I believe this weekend.
That's already happened. I'm sure we won.
But now I'm sure we won, and it's all thanks to Saint Patricius.
St. Patricius, he really does not like the Scots. But yeah, did you ever hear of Gehenna? Apparently it's a valley outside of Jerusalem. But it's just interesting reading this because it's obviously before the modern idea of hell. So he just references Gehenna as the place where it's eternal punishment, and it's like a hill outside Jerusalem. Which I didn't. I went down into the
Traffic's terrible. There's no beds. You can't. It's rough.
I got sidetracked a lot during
Hot
this
showers.
episode because just trying to figure out about the Roman Empire. I was like, well, that's interesting. And then I started going down into James, the James's Bible, like the Bible we know and love,
Yes.
that we would be familiar with is Saint James or is King James's Bible, who is our James the Second, who we talk about a lot, who was up against King Billy. I think it's his granddad James, and he conflates Gehenna and Hades and some other places. He just calls them all hell.
Okay. Anywhere it's hot.
Yeah, but even though all the hot, I mean, sometimes they reference like eternal flames and stuff, but they just kind of cobble it all
They
together.
just say like they just picked a shitty holiday destination.
Yeah, it's just like a bad.
Forever you'll be banished to Tremor.
But
Actually sounds pretty good.
yeah. I mean, to be fair, a hill outside of Jerusalem probably is pretty bad place to be most of the time. But
but the innkeeper story is the other one of the big ones.
yes,
That he goes into an inn and this lady, she's having a rough time. No one's drinking, no one likes her because she's been an absolute weapon. And then St. Patrick comes in and says, you've got a demon in your cellar, and the only way to get rid of it is by stop being such an absolute wagon about everything.
Yeah.
And then he comes back the next day or whatever, a couple of weeks later, and now she's just being nice to everyone. She says there's whiskey in everyone's glass, which feels like they've only added that for Ireland.
yes.
For that story specifically. They're like, and just give everyone as much free whiskey as possible, and life,
Yeah,
it'll always be
it'd
great.
be fantastic.
Always walking on the sunny side of the path.
Yeah.
it's going to be class.
Yeah.
And then it does. And he comes back and he's, oh, look at this. And everyone in there is happy because they're getting free whiskey.
Yeah.
It's probably costing her a solid fortune. And then St. Patrick says, come on, let's go downstairs and check the cellar, see if that demon's still here. They walk down and guess what? Oh, it's gone.
He's gone. That's our version of the Lazarus, the repentant tax man, or the Good Samaritan. It's the bar woman who lightened up. The woman who fucking cut me a bit of slack about I'm trying. Would you not give a man a free whiskey? And lo and behold, she was blessed by the Lord and became a child of Christ. That's a great parable.
Yeah.
So, what did we learn? Nothing really.
Most of the stuff we already knew.
Everything we know about him is based on stuff that was written an awful lot later on.
We weren't meant to believe all that stuff anyway. It was all just myth, kind of.
Yeah, but the stuff he writes about himself is
But it's
that
like
he was kidnapped, and that I do well.
He says he was enslaved later on again for about 60 days. He was held captive, and then there was another time he was beaten up just for being Christian.
But he kind of glosses all over all this stuff. There's one. It was hard to get a lot of fun out of it because it is mostly him just talking about how he just keeps quoting the Bible and talking about how hard his job is, but that he doesn't mind, but he would rather be somewhere else, I think. But he says, I was taken into captivity in Ireland, along with thousands of others. We deserved this because we had gone away from God and did not know to keep his commandments. We would not listen to our priests who advised us about how we could be saved. Which, bearing in mind that his dad and his granddad were priests, just means that he was like, yeah, I was kidnapped, but it was my own fault. I wasn't listening to my dad. Mm-hmm. Which might be the earliest form of just Catholic guilt for it. It's not his fault. He was a boy.
What if his dad's advice was don't get on ships with pirates, and then he got on a ship with pirates?
That's fair. It could be much more direct than we're giving him credit for. He was actually a pretty decent fella. The only thing he tried to drum into me was don't go on that ship with those pirates. And you know what? Some lessons you just have to learn yourself.
Sometimes you have to learn it yourself. Sometimes teens need to act out. 6 years in a field in Mayo never hurt you.
Yeah. But that's pretty much it. My name is Patrick Patricius. I'm a sinner, a simple country person and the least of all believers.
I'm a sinner, a simple cunt.
A simple cunt.
His confessions.
That's how his confession starts, which is a pretty good line of like, I'm a simple man and the least of all believers, Patricius. But there we go.
He baptized the King of Leinster and Carlo.
Yes.
And you've purposely left that out of your script. You haven't mentioned that.
Yes.
And what about the Sleety Church just outside of Carlo, where the manuscript The Life of St. Patrick was made? What about that? You've left that, you conveniently, convently, you've left that out of.
Well, there's loads of stuff we left. I mean, there's hagiographers, which is a great word. They all say
Carlo was the capital of Ireland from 1361 to 4,
which is 1,000 years after he's meant to be gone. But they all rewrite this stuff to be like, yeah, he met Niall's son of Niall and the Nine Hostages. Like anyone who wanted to get a bit of legitimacy, they would write a story to be like, and then Patrick was there, and he said, you know what, you're my favorite.
Yeah,
but this is all they like. That's
but
why
the one on Carlo's real though. They were probably just copying that.
I mean, according to the Annals of Inishfallen, he was dead before 382, but the book was written in 1092, so a long time after he was meant to be dead. Why we celebrate St. Patrick's Day on the 17th of March is because
we needed a day.
We just needed a day. It's it's when the sun starts to come out a little bit. It's miserable. It's been a particularly miserable January and February.
There's not been a lot of tourism.
No.
Because post-December, there's not a lot coming from January, February. It really kickstarts the tourist season.
Yeah. We just need a day out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of like Halloween's the end of a lot of the tourism. Because then people are coming in the 4 months where it's definitely going to rain every day.
Although it probably will rain on Tuesday as well.
And you know what? It's good. Tourists, I'm fucking sick of it. This is a day of penance. It's meant to be a day of solemnitude. Solemnity.
And yeah.
Like Liam Neeson said on that American chat show, in Ireland they don't celebrate St. Patrick's Day. But overall, St. Patrick,
a great man.
Yeah, as much of looking into him to try and find him as a dirty moneylender who was a filthy liar, we only found some of that stuff.
Basically, he's whatever you want him to be. He's a man whose name might have been Patricius or could have been anything else, who was kidnapped from wherever Baverna Tiberium was, came to Ireland, didn't complained a little bit, but no more than his own right.
Less than most.
And you know what? He did well. Mm-hmm. He did fine. He converted a lot of Catholics.
You take a leaf out of his book.
Yes.
A 3-fingered leaf.
He didn't mention shamrocks. He kept mentioning that he turned women to the Virgin way. I don't know why. All right. He lost a couple of parishioners to Criticus, but who amongst us, cast the first stone. And all in all, I think fair to say our hero of the week.
Definitely the best saint of March.
Yes. Also, St. Bridget was born in County Loud. Goodbye.
We'll get to that another day.
We already did.
Spurious rumours.
No.
This show is part of the Head Stuff Podcast Network, a hub for the creative and the curious. Shows are produced in association with Head Stuff and the Podcast Studios Dublin. Find out more or become a member at headstuffpodcasts.com.